The actual F do you mean the Vanzan subpoena scheme? Well, sweet cheeks, let me tell you, okay? Because this is something that many content creators have tried to make videos about, and somehow they mysteriously either get shadow banned or whatever. So my confidence that this video will reach people is very low. So we're just gonna go with it, okay? Now, before I start spilling all of the juicy tea, you need to know who the key players are, okay? This is important. Do not skip this step. First, we have Blake Lively. She is the actress that is suing Justin Baldoni. He is the actor and director that is fighting back, and he owns a movie company called Wayfair Studios. Next, we have Stephanie Jones and Jonesworks. They are the PR firm that is at the heart of the subpoena fight. Then there's Jen Abel. She is the publicist that used to work for Jonesworks, and her text messages are the thing that everyone wants. It is the, keep wanting to say the bee's knees, and that's not right. So, alas, everybody wants Jen Abel's text messages, okay? Finally, we have Vanzan. That is the company that is owned by Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. And we find this out way later because they hid it. It is a shell company. Alas, let's get into it. Back with me to August 2024 at the promotion and premiere of the movie It Ends With Us. You know, that movie where Blake and Ryan were on the red carpet, gallivanting around like no big deal, and Justin Baldoni, the director of the movie, was forced to be in the basement of the theater for the premiere. Scorsese would never. Spielberg would never. Let me just say that. Okay, so then after the premiere is when we started getting all the headlines and all the tea that Justin and Blake were beefing and that not everything was sunshine and rainbows on the set of It Ends With Us. So at this time, Blake Lively's reputation is literally in the shitter. Like, people online don't like her. Things are not well, okay? So in September of 2024, Blake Lively and her legal team used Blake and Ryan's shell company, Vanzan Inc., and they file a sham lawsuit suing John Doe's 1 through 10. Okay, so what was this even filed for? You guys, the Vanzan versus John Doe's 1 through 10 was filed so that Blake Lively could subpoena Stephanie Jones and Jonesworks. Stephanie Jones had a hold of Jen Abel's text messages between Justin Baldoni, people from the movie studio, everything that was going on around the time of the It Ends With Us premiere and the promotion of the film. Those text messages had some juicy deets inside of them, right? And Blake Lively ended up using those as the basis for her retaliation claims in her lawsuit against Justin Baldoni. But they were doing this secretly, like nefariously on the back end, quietly, through a shell company called Vanzan. They did that so that Justin Baldoni and Jen Abel weren't able to fight back and say, whoa, what you got my text messages for? What do you need that for? They did it a back secret bullshit way, and that's why this is so dramatic. So the internet is speculating that Blake Lively never actually meant to take things this far. She was just trying to get those messages. She was just trying to do the New York Times article, and she was going to drop this big old bomb on Justin Baldoni and go, boom, the internet hates you now. Everybody hates you now. And she wasn't expecting for him to come back and go, here's the rest of the receipts, girlfriend. And that is why things are so fucking crazy. So then right before the New York Times article and the California civil rights complaint was filed, the Vanzan lawsuit conveniently was dropped. Vanzan said, no, we're no longer pursuing John Doe's 1 through 10. Sus AF. So then, if you're not familiar, Blake Lively sues Justin Baldoni, and there's tons of people that are following it because this is such a crazy case. And what I'll tell you is this. Vanzan Inc. was not meant to be found. It was something that Blake Lively was trying to hold secret close to the vest, but in about April, of all the people that have been obsessed with this case, internet sleuths found the Vanzan lawsuit. They found it and they were like, what is this bullshit? What's going on here? And there was this question of how is Justin Baldoni and his legal team going to introduce Vanzan into the main lawsuit? Because it wasn't information that was necessarily in the realm or in the world of everything that was presented. And so they had to find a way to sneak Vanzan, or not sneak, but just introduce Vanzan to the judge to let him know, hey, guess what? Blake and Ryan are doing some really kind of nefarious shit. Did you know about this? They couldn't just come out right and just talk about it, right? Will, there's a way. And what they did was is Justin Baldoni and his legal team used Jen Abel's filing of counterclaims to include the Vanzan information. So that was the way they were able to sneak it in and introduce it to Judge Lyman, the judge that's presiding over the current lawsuit. So it wasn't until May 11th that Brian Friedman and the Wayfair Party's legal team was able to finally get Vanzan in front of Judge Lyman. Almost a month after Internet Sleuths figured it out, they were finally able to sneak her in. Her legal team would come out and they'd talk about it like, oh yeah, that thing, that's not a big deal. It's just a normal legal move. And Brian Friedman and a lot of other lawyers online and in this content creating space would come out and say, definitely not a normal thing, very abnormal, and is like something that could be sanctioned. June is when Vanzan got a little bit wild, and let me tell you about it, because Jen Abel herself had to compel the judge to make Vanzan hand over their ownership documents. And what do you know, a couple of days later, the Wayfair's legal team files some bombshell letters saying that Blake Lively herself is Vanzan, just basically shouting it from the rooftops to the judge. And then on the 30th of June, somehow magically, the CEO of Vanzan was changed from Blake Reynolds, to Ryan Reynolds, who was no longer in the case at that time, ironically. Then in the beginning of July, Vanzan actually had to add counsel into the mix of everything, and everybody was super excited about what was going on. And it turns out that the judge on July 7th ended up saying that Vanzan does have to hand over all of their communications, emails, and etc., which was a pretty big win for the Wayfair parties. So what are the outcomes of this? The reason why it's kind of a big deal within the entire main lawsuit is because if the court decides that they had a subpoena issue or there was some kind of issue with how the legal process worked in regards to obtaining some of this information, then that evidence could be excluded. And that could be some information that would uphold some of Blake Lively's claims. I don't think it would completely cover or take away all of the claims, but with her not being able to use those messages as a basis, I don't know how much she would have to go on. Because think about it. She doesn't have any proof of a smear campaign. She's been looking for it. In this main case, we've all been following with it. She doesn't have proof because she says it's untraceable and there's no evidence here. So the only evidence she has of a retaliatory smear campaign is text messages that she obtained through this subpoena through the Vanzan versus John Doe's 1 through 10. So there's a lot of theories as to this being the downfall for Blake Lively and her suit, but who knows? Who knows what's going to happen with it? But it is kind of an interesting bit of information. So anyways, just thought I would update everyone. I've been recording this for a while. I probably need to stop because I got some things to do, but it was great talking to you. I hope you have a great day. Thanks for being here.